Non-establishment camp retains veto power in Lejko following yesterday's election. Localists emerge as the big winners. And the G20 summit in Hangzhou draws to a close.
Hello and a very good evening. Three major forces have now emerged in the Legislative Council following yesterday's hotly contested election. The pro-establishment won the most seats with about 40, but pan-Democrats and localists, who make up the non-establishment camp, appear to be able to maintain their veto power. Adam Shu begins our coverage.
A record high of 2.2 million voters cast their ballots in the Lejko election, representing a turnout rate of 58%. A new wave of political faces is sweeping into office. One of them is Nathan Law, a former student leader of the 2014 Occupy protest, who at just 23 will become the city's youngest ever lawmaker after winning more than 50,000 votes on Hong Kong Island. Their entries coincide with the exits of several veteran pan-Democrats, such as Labour Party's Sid Ho in Hong Kong Island constituency and Lee Chang-yan in New Territories West, as well as ADPL's Frederick Fong. Fong said they had underestimated the localists, who turn out to have diverted some 20% of votes from them.
Before, we have two sectors in Hong Kong, either the pro-government camp or the pan-Democrats. But after the election, you can see we have the first sector now. They are the localism, Hong Kong independence, and so on. I think it's a good time for us to make a big review on what we have done, our style, our culture.
But the non-establishment camp has grabbed 6 out of 9 spots in the New Territories East, its traditional stronghold. The pro-establishment front, meanwhile, has lost 2 seats to the opposition in the geographical constituencies of this election. They bagged 16 seats, 2 fewer than in 2012. That means the opposition has more than secured its veto power. In the geographical constituencies, independent candidate Eddie Chu got the biggest number of votes. In his first bid for the legislature, the environmental activist has secured over 84,000 ballots. Adam Xu, TVB News.
Apart from the traditional pan-democratic and pro-establishment camps, a new force emerged in this year's Lejko elections. More than a dozen candidates are considered advocates of Hong Kong independence or self-determination. 6 managed to snag a seat in the chamber. One of them was even crowned the King of Votes. Winna Wong has the details.
Eddie Chu from the New Territories West constituency earned himself a stunning victory in last night's election. With a grand total of more than 80,000 votes, Chu beat the second highest and Lejko veteran Michael Tian by more than 10,000 ballots. Not only that, he also earned himself the title King of Votes when he topped the number of ballots out of all geographical constituency candidates. Chu is a localist and an environmental activist, and he has ambitious plans to tackle the status quo.
I think as the first environmentalist legislative councillor, I will put the environmental protection issue on one of my first priorities. A democratic reform of the Hong Yi Code is, I think, for myself, the first issue that I will raise up in the Legislative Council.
Also recording a surprising victory was Demosisto's Nathan Law. Raking in more than 50,000 votes, he took second place in his Hong Kong Island constituency, just below pro-establishment heavyweight Regina Ip. Law was a prominent student activist during the 2014 Occupy Central protests. At 23 years old, he will become the city's youngest ever lawmaker.
And I believe that those mainstream parties, they recognize that. So I think for those who oppose self-determination and for those in the mainstream parties, we could cooperate if there's some issues that we have the same stance.
Over in Kowloon West, university lecturer Lau Siu Lai came in third with over 38,000 ballots to her name. and another newcomer, 25-year-old Yao Wai-ching from Youngspiration, battled it out with incumbent lawmaker Wang Yuk-man for the final seat. She beat Wang by around 500 votes.
I think most of the Hong Kong people want to have kinds of change. Maybe they want to give some chance to some new faces.
Other localist winners include Sixtus Leung, also from Youngspiration, who placed 7th in New Territories East. Cheng Chung-tai of Civic Passion took the New Territories West constituency's 4th seat. Winna Wang, TVB News.
A number of senior pan-Democratic lawmakers lost their seats in their re-election bids. Some pan-Democrats believe votes allocation is partly to blame. Caleb Leung has more.
Veteran pan-Democratic lawmaker Lee Cheuk-yan was first elected into the Legislative Council in 1995. The Labour Party lawmaker has never been defeated in the election since then until today. Lee said the strategic vote allocation among pan-Democrats may be a contributing factor to his defeat. However, he noted that what they need to review is not whether voters were able to allocate their votes successfully. Occupy Central co-founder Benny Tai earlier devised the Thunderbolt plan. It was designed to coordinate supporters and get more seats for the pan-Democratic camp. Andrew Wen of the Democratic Party managed to grab a seat in New Territories West. He said the plan may send out confusing messages to voters, such as which candidate should be forsaken or who has enough votes. He believes the plan affected the deployment of pan-Democrats. Gary Fan of the Neo Democrats also failed to get re-elected. However, he is not putting the full blame on Tai's plan.
This is the choice of voters. We demand democracy and we respect the choice of the people. So I take full responsibility of the defeat in this Legislative Council election. Thunderbolt plan is one of the several factors that lead to the furious competitions in this Legislative Council election and also the defeat of my election campaign. But that is not the only one and only most important factor. I must say that.
Leung Kwok-hong, who previously won the most votes in New Territories East, barely managed to grab the last seat in the constituency this time around. He said if some voters believe the vote should be allocated to other candidates first, that's a sign of the voters' wish to have others representing them in LegCo before considering him. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
Well, despite losses in the geographical constituencies, the pro-establishment camp has managed to maintain its dominance of LegCo thanks to its functional constituency seats. Here's Anne Sim.
The pro-establishment Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong will remain the biggest party in LegCo. Party chairwoman Starry Lee said its strategy was to field some new faces, but still stick to safe tactics, as the political environment was more complicated this time. But for other pro-establishment parties, such as the Liberal Party's Dominic Lee, who formed a list with party veteran James Tien in New Territories East, lost out. Tien blamed the party's lack of district-level support, adding that their ticket relied heavily on his political reputation and past work in LegCo. New People's Party's Regina Ip fielded a new face too, Eunice Yung in New Territories East, where pro-government parties held on to 3 seats. Ip noted that support at the district level there and Jung's hard work helped her win a seat. It was incumbents in New Territories East, Elizabeth Quat and Gary Chan of the DAB, who garnered the most votes. In the Kowloon East geographical constituency, the pro-establishment camp held sway, with the DAB's Wilson Orr winning more than 50,000 votes. The Federation of Trade Unions incumbent Wong Kwok Kin came in 4th with more than 47,000 votes. Pro-Beijing independent Paul Tse was re-elected with more than 47,500 votes. He's happy to keep his seat, but not looking forward to the next LegCo session.
It's going to be a mess for sure. It's interesting, but in a way we have a lot of newcomers. So with all the experienced members gone, it might be a while before LegCo can get back to its real sort of level, I suppose.
The pro-Beijing camp will continue to dominate LegCo, partly because of its heavy presence in the functional constituencies. They managed to maintain seats for most incumbent lawmakers running for re-election, except for the FTU's Tan Kah Pew in New Territories East. Anne-Marie Sim, TVB News.
3 pan-Democrats and 2 pro-establishment figures won in the District Council super seat race. For more on that and the results of the other functional constituencies, here's Anne-Marie Sim once again.
The 5 winners of the District Council super seats are Starry Lee, Holden Chow, James To, Leung Yu Chung and Kwong Chun Yu. Wong Kwok Hing of the FTU lost. In other functional constituencies, wins for the incumbents in agriculture and fisheries, transport and education. Wins also for the incumbents in legal and accountancy. In the medical sector, Pierre Chan defeated Wong Yi Him in a battle of 2 new faces. The incumbents won in health services and engineering. In architectural, surveying, planning and landscape, incumbent Tony Tse was ousted by Yu Chung Yim. In social welfare, Shu Ka-chun beat 4 others. The incumbents prevailed in tourism, commercial first, financial services and sports, performing arts, culture and publication. Similar wins for the incumbents in textiles and garment, information technology and catering. And a new face in wholesale and retail, as Shu Ka-fai defeated Ao Nok Hin. 12 others won through, uncontested. They come from 10 sectors. A total of 35 lawmakers come from the functional constituencies. Anne-Marie Sim, TVB News.
Turning to news elsewhere, world economic growth was high on the agenda as G20 countries wrapped up their summit today. Jameson Wong has more.
A key focus of the summit, ways to boost the world economy. G20 countries discussed the importance of the robust use of monetary, fiscal and structural measures to achieve strong, sustainable and balanced growth. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe today warned the downside risks to the global economy were increasing, and the G20 needs to respond with a sense of urgency. Another key issue, the impact of Britain's exit from the European Union.
It is a historic decision for British people. It will be a complex and challenging process leaving the European Union, but I'm very clear that it doesn't mean we're going to be inward-looking. In fact, we want to be even more outward-looking around the whole of the world.
On climate change, India said it will not be able to ratify the Paris Agreement this year. That's despite a similar move by China and the United States on Saturday. Jameson Wong, TVB News.
North Korea fired 3 ballistic missiles off its east coast this morning, right as the G20 leaders were meeting in China. South Korea says the missiles were launched from the western town of Gwangju in the north. They flew for about 1,000 kilometers and landed inside Japan's air defense identification zone. Analysts say Pyongyang has previously tested missiles at sensitive times to draw attention to its military might. They also say today's launch could embarrass North Korea's main ally, China, the host of the G20 meeting. Beijing has called on all parties involved to avoid taking action that may escalate tensions.
And still ahead on the news tonight. An anti-immigration party in Germany outperforms Angela Merkel's Christian Democrats in state election. A dispute over rail repair work on Sabbath causes transport headaches in Israel. And a wooden replica of 17th century London goes up in smoke to mark the Great Fire anniversary.
Suicide mission.
Scientists who want to bomb.
The Volcano to swipe the whole thing.